Hello everyone, David here with another very special collector's video, or collection video, and it's for a console that I don't think an awful lot of people do collection videos for because it's not as nostalgic as the other systems that I have done collection videos on, because we just haven't ushered into the new era. But I actually think that we are. I think we have ushered into a brand new era with this new generation of the PS4 and Xbox One, and I know that it's relatively new compared to other consoles like things from the 90s like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, or the Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, that kind of thing. But considering that not only within this year, but probably within the past couple of months, I believe, can't remember the exact date that they announced this, Sony has ceased production of the PlayStation 3, at least the last batches of the PlayStation 3, in Japan as of recently. And so I can't think of any other kind of occasion to go ahead and showcase my collection of PlayStation 3 games. Before I do so, however, I do want to showcase the actual PlayStation 3 console that I actually do have, because there's a number of iterations of this bad boy, and I believe the one that got seized of production right now, at least the most recent one, was the I think it's called the Super Slim PlayStation 3, and I really don't like that thing. I really don't. I mean, sure, it's cheaper, it's smaller, it's much more eco-friendly, but the damn thing looks like a fucking air conditioner. It's, I don't know, design-wise, I really do not vibe with it, and it just has a cheap look to it. And that's just my opinion, but I digress. Then there was the first iteration of the PlayStation 3, the one that made massive headlines when it was unveiled that the damn thing was going to be costing $600. And then furthermore, when it was actually kind of put to scale on display, everyone was like, yeah, that thing is staying at home. And that's the only place it's going to be, because it was massive, it was huge. That was the big kerfuffle with the things, that it was just too big to be carried around. Even though it had that really nice glossy piano finish all over it, it was just a colossal thing to really deal with. So, in comes the version that I have, which is the Slim PlayStation 3, or the PlayStation 3, PS3 Slim. Not the Super Slim that came later, and obviously not the original version that came before. This is the normal standard PlayStation 3 Slim, and I fucking love this thing. This is the design of the console that I vibe with the most, because sure, they got rid of the glossy finish with the exception of the sides here. As you can see, they went for this much more robust matte finish to the top here, and you got the PlayStation 3 logo, which looks more in tune, more resembling the original PlayStation 2 design, because I feel like there was a little bit of an identity issue when the PS3 came out, the original version, and it had that Spider-Man font on the logo, and I'm like, you're confusing properties here. I understand they're both owned by Sony, but guys, come on, separate the two. And I love that they went back to this original logo, or this original font for the logo. So that was pretty cool. And they still retained the one thing that I loved about that original console, is that slide in. Instead of being a tray or lifting up like this, it's a slide in disc port right here to slide in the disc, and I thought that was pretty cool. And the buttons are actual buttons. We didn't go into the whole touch panel thing that was making things kind of confusing. At the bottom, of course, the logo again, and then we got the little pads right here. I lost one in the time that I've owned this console. That kind of sucks. USB ports here in the front, little logos to display that you're playing Blu-rays and DVDs and whatnot, and of course all of your ports in the back for power, HDMI, and also one of the last consoles, along with the 360, to also be able to be used on standard def TVs with the AV component plug right here in the back. A time long missed, but never forgotten. That's what I meant to say. And to me, personally, this is my favorite version of the PlayStation 3, and I'm glad that that's the version that I went with. So, that was awesome. Okay, now, on with some games. Now, this is going to be a rather rapid-fire style type of collection video, because I have an awful lot of PlayStation 3 games. I dare say I have more PlayStation 3 games than I did PS2, or of course the N64, the NES Classic video that I did where I was showcasing those games. I think I have more. I would say out of those 3 collection videos that I did, take at least 2 and combine them together, and I still got more PlayStation 3 games than that. So because I have so many, and I don't want to dwell on each one too long, because that's just going to make this thing a much bigger slog than it actually has to be, and also because I'm kind of tired. I just came back from school and I am burning up because of these lights. I want to get through this a little quickly, but not without paying some due respects to these games, that some of which I still haven't played. They're still wrapped in the cellophane. But I'm getting right to it because they do belong to my backlog just as much as they belong to my upbringing of video games, no matter how recent it could be considered. So let's start off alphabetically. I tried to stack them up as best as possible, so here we go. So we got to start with the A's, and of course you can't get any more A than Assassin's Creed. The original here from 2007. I remember playing this game and thinking, yes, this is a nice little cool idea. Didn't play it when it initially came out. That was 2007. I didn't get my PlayStation 3, and I probably should have noted this earlier. I didn't get my PlayStation 3 until either 2009 or 2010. One of those two. I think I got it in between years, either on a Christmas or on a birthday or whatever, around that time. And this was a late purchase. But I bought it, and I can understand with what some people loved about the series, but I was relieved to hear that so many other people were saying that, yeah, we mainly got with the sequels, not so much with the first one, because it got repetitive at certain points. Moving on. Of course, I needed to know what those sequels were all about, especially with this little Ezio fellow. So that's why I thought it was perfect when they announced the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy. I thought it was a bargain, cool, good price. I don't think I even got it for the $40 that it was listed for. I think I got it for like 30 or something like that off of Amazon, maybe even cheaper. And of course, that comes with 3 games in one: Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Awesome games. I did think that it went a little downhill, but Brotherhood is, I think, awesome and slightly underrated. Everybody talks humongous praise about 2 and not enough about Brotherhood, because Brotherhood was awesome. Revelations was good, but it felt like an expansion. It was one of those sequels where I'm like, this feels more like an expansion so that you can wrap up Ezio's story rather than an actual sequel with a beginning, middle, and end. Next up, gotta know what these games are all about. Number 3, Assassin's Creed 3. And of course, this is the one where I was like, ugh, should I stop with the series now? But then I heard, and again, I got into the series rather late. In fact, when I got this, 4 and I think Unity was about to come out. 4 was already out and Unity was about to come out. So they were releasing these games so frequently that by the time that the next one came up, the one before was only like $15, $20 on Amazon. And so that's why I snagged the opportunities to pick these guys up. And so here we have Assassin's Creed 3. And it was a good game, but definitely had broader problems than the other games did. And to me, the most significant one was that Connor, or your main protagonist that you play as, is just a little brat. Even when he's older, I thought he was a brat. I just couldn't click with him. I rather would have stayed with Hatham playing long after that first act. So it's time to bounce back. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, whatever. Much more significant improvement. A slight disconnect to see that it was in 3 when Desmond's story wrapped up, so then the present day stuff was a little weird here in this game, especially since they kind of jumped into that first person perspective. So I'm like, okay, it's a little strange, but you managed to completely overshadow that with an awesome campaign. Playing as Edward Kenway was very charismatic, and then interacting with all these pirates, and of course the naval play from the 3 gets carried over here and much improved. Awesome. And with more releases came more discounts, came more opportunities, and I just couldn't help myself. Assassin's Creed Rogue, slightly underrated. Slightly underrated. I actually think this is a rather good game. Definitely not 2 or even 4, but there's some things about it that are, I think, in my opinion, are slightly overlooked about this game, especially of how different the story is, where here you're kind of playing as a Templar and not necessarily as an assassin. So I thought that was a nice change of pace. It's the one thing that everybody's being stoked about Battlefront 2. Why didn't you give the Assassin's Creed game some leverage over taking that step initially back then with Rogue? And I thought that was rather cool, and a nice little swan song for the Assassin's Creed franchise on the old gen consoles, because this is the last one that we were going to see on the PS3. They made it exclusive for that console, and I thought that was like, okay, you know what, that's a cool way to go, and a rather underappreciated one. Still has its fair share of problems, but I thought that I got my money's worth in the end. Alright, now we're taking it down to the nitty gritty. Batman Arkham Asylum. As you can see, we're progressing through the letters. This is the Game of the Year edition, and I will never forget being so disappointed picking this up, being really ecstatic, especially about the 3D, and noticing that there were no glasses inside, because the first few copies of this Game of the Year edition came with this 3D gimmick where it came with glasses, but this wasn't like the 3D that you would expect to find in the theaters now, or with 3D TVs or whatever. This was the 3D where you got some fucking glasses and like one lens is like green and the other one's purple. Now looking back at it, and I was a kid when I got this, I was like 17, 18 or whatever. Now looking back, I was like, why, David? Why? Furthermore, why would Rocksteady throw in the 3D compatibility with these later versions, these greatest hits versions of the game, and not include the classes? Stupid. It's just really counterintuitive. But no matter, because Arkham Asylum to this day, and this might be a controversial statement, but Arkham Asylum to this day is my favorite Arkham game thus far. Even after City and even after Unity, there's something about the isolation and the claustrophobia atmosphere of Asylum being in this one single place with so many nooks and crannies to explore that I find much more enticing than the open worldness of those latter two games. Not to knock down those games, they were amazing, but this to me was the one that kicked it all off for me, that I was like, oh my god, superhero games could be awesome. But of course, that's not going to stop me from actually buying Batman Arkham City. Right here, Game of the Year edition once more, came with all the bonus content, and the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC that it came with, rather appreciate it. I really dig the story, so much so that I kind of wish that it was a little bit longer, instead of having to go back into these challenge maps where you just go through wave of enemies as different characters like Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman. But still, a really great sequel. In my opinion, at a matter of preference, I prefer Arkham Asylum, but I still respect what Arkham City was trying to do from a story perspective, especially with the very ballsy move it makes at the very end. And most of you already know by now what that decision is, but for the sake of those who still somehow have not played the games, yeah, we're in this new era of the PS4, so I guess you kind of have no choice but to go with the Return of Arkham 2-pack, even though I've seen the comparison videos, and for some strange reason, these versions still look better than the PS4 and Xbox One. I don't know how that makes any kind of sense, but if you still have a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 and can find this version of Arkham City or even Arkham Asylum, play the games to there, and you will still be able to make your own decision as to which one you prefer, but make no mistake, they're amazing games. Okay, we got a twofer here, and it's a one that I was looking for the longest of time, because at this point I've heard so many people talk about these games, and I'm like, okay, I have to figure this out. Bioshock and Bioshock 2, the Ultimate Rapture Edition, which comes with both 1, 2, and pretty much all the DLC for both games. And that's awesome, because the DLC for the first one was kind of okay, you know, it's mostly like maps and stuff like that, but there's actually some DLC for the second game that's story driven, that there's a little like it's almost like a side quest, only longer than you would expect side quests in this game to be within a certain section of the map. And awesome games. Everybody gives praise over to Bioshock, but Jesus Christ, Bioshock 2 is criminally underrated. Not better than the first one. The first one is still better, but people need to respect 2 more. So many people I've heard overlook 2 and be like, I don't know, I don't care about 2. You need to care about 2. At least give it a shot if you haven't already played it. If it doesn't appease you because you're not playing as a human, you're playing as one of the big daddies, but trust me, there's something deeper going on right there. And I can still remember the story from 2. I'm not able to forget it, and I think that that's a testament to the game. Skip the multiplayer, though. The multiplayer is kind of weird, so don't do it. Borderlands, the original Game of the Year edition. Back then, they were more focused on the gameplay rather than to sprawl this story with the characters, especially some of the more popular ones. But here's where it all started, and really cool inception of this style. I do think that the story could have been a little bit broader, especially with the Vault Hunters and all that stuff, but still, really enjoyed the game. And I'm very, very confident that I haven't even finished the DLC for this Game of the Year edition. It comes with all the bonus DLC, and I don't think I've even finished the majority of it. I think I finished like half of them. And it became so popular that it warranted a pre-sequel. Yeah, you noticed I skipped 2. That's because for circumstances unknown, I don't have 2 physically. I have it digitally, and I've played it along with all the DLC. It was the Game of the Year edition, but it's digital. It's in the console, or at least on the PSN, so I can't show it off here. But what I can show off is this nice, bright, and shiny version of the pre-sequel. And one of the things that made me want to get it is because of the sleeve that it comes with. I love it when games in physical form come with like a sleeve around them, and I could just slide it in right there. It makes it feel all the more special. Hopefully I'm not alone here, but especially when you add this lenticular look to it, I dig it. It makes it much more attractive. Just recently actually finished playing this game, and it's a really good Borderlands game. Not necessarily the best. I dare say it might have been even a little unnecessary to explain certain things about some of these characters, especially the Handsome Jack character, but still, nice little tie-in with the story, and it does some clever things with the characters, from Handsome Jack to even some characters from 2, where there's even a little switcheroo happening where I'm like, oh, now I don't know how to feel about these people. But still, doesn't make me wish that there wasn't a 3 anytime soon. Because, come on, what's his name? Tim Schafer, Gearbox, make it happen. Okay, so now we're starting to jump into the cellophane ones that I haven't even played. I swear to God, I don't know why I bought this. It's pretty masochistic. Dark Souls 2. It's still in there. Still in the cellophane. Still has the price tag. Or is it the price tag? No. This is a little doohickey. This is actually the sticker from Best Buy whenever you're going to return it. I don't remember returning this. Or maybe they discounted it like the week after I bought it for a certain price. So I went back and said, hey, can you kind of price match this? And they put this on there. I can't remember. I can't even remember why I bought the game. Probably because it was cheap. But it's here. Will I ever play it? Maybe. But I just don't know if I have enough anti-assets for this. Dishonored, Game of the Year Edition. You're noticing I have an awful lot of Game of the Year Editions, and that's because I do that. Especially back when I was doing the majority of my game shopping on Amazon, not so much Best Buy. And that's because I love Game of the Year Editions. I hardly see them these days. It's getting kind of sad. In fact, most of my PS4 games don't even have Game of the Year Editions, and that saddens me. But here I have the Dishonored one. Awesome game. Don't really need to talk much more about it because you've probably already made up your mind. We got a sequel. Hopefully you made up your mind about that. But if you haven't already done so, there is a PS4 Definitive Edition that's kind of cleaned up. Comes with all the DLC as well. I definitely recommend it because this is one of those franchises that can become humongous, and you better not miss out. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, one of my more popular reviews on YouTube, mainly because people post in the comments calling me a dumb motherfucker for not saving at the proper time, after coming up with a complaint of how I got stuck in the game because I jumped into an arena that I couldn't jump back out of, and I didn't save. But at the same time, I feel like there should be a conscious way of developers to figure that out ahead of time. Anyways, not gonna get into it. Despite my little irk with that segment of the game, one of the best RPGs around. It's no Skyrim. People are so used to Skyrim these days, but respect your elders. Your Elder Scrolls. Came up with that on the spot, and Oblivion should definitely not be overlooked. But of course, I had to cave in. Skyrim. The Legendary Edition, one of the more respective versions of the game, because you got all 3 pieces of DLC, plus the main game, some bonus content, all that stuff. And little did I know that it was going to not end here. Because then we would get the Special Edition on the PS4. And now we're getting the Switch Edition. Then we're going to get the VR. Fallout 3, another game that I actually just recently played. And I can definitely see people's arguments as to why certain people think that it's somewhat of a downgrade for them to go from 3 to 4. Because there are some broader things that took me actually a little bit longer to complete this game. But definitely a very enjoyable experience. Don't know how I feel about the third act. I feel like the third act was a little rushed. That's just my opinion. I was like, oh, it's over? Okay, and yes, there was plenty of other side quests to do, especially because this is, again, the Game of the Year edition, come with all the bonus content. But I can make my own argument as to why there's certain things about 4 that I prefer over this one. Then we got Fallout New Vegas. Haven't played it. As you can see, still got the $20 value there from Best Buy. Still in the cellophane, but I'm excited to play it. Not anytime soon because I like to space out my RPGs. And since I already just recently, within the past month or so, played 3, I'm going to take my time to get around to this one. God of War Collection, or yeah, I guess at the time it was just called the God of War Collection. I think this came out right before 3, so they had the right to call it just the God of War Collection. Before then, the other ones came out. But this is the HD remaster of 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 were only on the PS2. And one of the nicer collections. Even though it's not necessarily, it's a remaster, you gotta keep in mind it's a remaster, not a remake. So it still has that PS2 kind of look. They just made it easier to blow it up to the HD looks of your TV and whatnot. But still, like it says right here, 2 epic adventures, and if you've never caught up with the exploits of Kratos, you can either go with this one or you can go with that like 5-game one that comes with all the games. So it's up to you. So it would be obvious that I would follow that up with God of War 3. Greatest hits, as you could tell, because obviously by the time these games come out, they downgrade them to $20, greatest hits, and hence the red cases. Kind of wish that they would have stuck with the translucent cases, but that's just me. Anyways, God of War 3, awesome conclusion to the franchise while leaving it open for further interpretations, one of which we are in fact getting next year. And Awesome action game. And Sony's not going to let you forget it because they do have the PS4 remastered just recently released. So if you missed it, you got no excuse. And just recently I've been seeing it on Best Buy for like $15. Whew. We're not even halfway done. Shit. GTA 4. I kind of prefer this over 5. Fight me. But awesome game. An awesome little collection of the obviously you can tell this the GameStop store sticker right there. It cost me $30, and this was actually one of the few instances where I did see a little bit of the shaniness from GameStop, because they gave me the actual case that was up on the shelf, and then it just went back and got the game from the sleeve and then put it in here. But I was naive. I was a naive kid, so I was just like, fuck it, I'll take it, and it worked. Still got the sleeve. See, there it is. On top of that, though, I love it. I love that Rockstar does this. They throw in the instruction booklet, and then they also throw in the map of the game. They always do that with every GTA game and even the Red Dead Redemption games, and I love it. GTA 5, I already said it. Amazing game, awesome to explore, but if you were to ask me what my favorite game of 2013 was, this wouldn't be it. Heavy Rain. I really wonder how compatible it really was with the PlayStation Move, like it says right there. But obviously a game that I actually saw trailers for, and the mechanics and all that stuff, like previews and things ahead of time. And if you couldn't already tell from the red casing, I decided to wait for the Greatest Hits Edition to find it at a discount rate, because I just had that vibe from it, and I don't regret it, because it's a cool, interesting story. I love all the different combinations of outcomes you can have by the end, especially when they show like a mosaic of how many different endings you could have. But the mechanics made me go, okay, is this truly a video game? But I understand how much of a mainstay this game really was in pop culture and what exactly it did for storytelling within the medium. The Killzone trilogy. Killzone looked interesting to me, but not enough to like buy the games as they came out, especially since 1, I think, was the only one that came out on the PS2, and then it was, on the PS2, and then it was PS3 for both 2 and 3. So I was like, you know what? I'll just wait, and I found myself for $20 the Killzone trilogy here. And often the Sony would have these versions of games, and you can find a similar kind of collection with even the same kind of motif and theme with the gold and the white, whatever, for the God of War series. But I decided to spring for this version of the Killzone trilogy, because you got all the games. You got 1 and 2 on one disc, and then 3 on its own disc, because it was like the highest resolution one, along with a code for like bonus DLC for all 3 games. So nice little deal, and if you can find it at your local game shop, it doesn't have to be GameStop, then I recommend checking it out. Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix, still in the cellophane, haven't played it, which is kind of not true, because I have played, if you have checked out my PlayStation 2 collection video, I have played Kingdom Hearts 1, but it's been such a long time, and this comes with the bonus, what is it? The final mix, the whatever the fuck that is for the original game, Chain of Memories, card-based gameplay, the cutscenes from 358 over whatever this is. Anyways, comes with all this neat little stuff, so I figured, and it was only $20 or even cheaper for me, because I got the gamer club unlocked thing for Best Buy, so it's cheaper for me slightly by 20%. And so I sprung for it, and I think I even had a certificate, so it was even cheaper. It's like $10 or something like that. So I was like, all right, you know what? Eventually, I'll get back to replaying, because I can hardly remember that much about the original Kingdom Hearts. So I'm excited to get back to that, especially since we have the sliver of optimism that maybe 3 will in fact come out in 2018. Just maybe. And if it doesn't, then hopefully in time I will also get around to playing Kingdom Hearts 2.5, which, similar to the other one, comes with the bonus stuff. But also, if you don't remember from my PS2 collection video, I had never finished 2. I started it, but I lost my way when it came to that segment where you have to kill like 1,000 Heartless all in one go, and I was like, screw this. I was a kid. My tolerance wasn't even that high. I was like, screw it. I moved on to Dragon Ball Z and all these other games. Never got back to playing it. So the fact that they came out with this for the PlayStation 3, I'm like, all right, you know what? At a cheap price, I'll nab it. Still in the cellophane, but in due time, hopefully I will get to it. But no rush, especially since there's no guarantee that 3 will come anytime soon. LA Noire, it's similar to Heavy Rain. It's a very not so much Heavy Rain. It gets the right amount of rate. But L.A. Noire should not be overlooked because it does have an interesting story, one that gets really compelling with its main character. But I understand that it was overly ambitious, and there were some things that just came out rather short about the game. Still, don't regret buying it. The Last of Us, as you can tell, this is one of my many entries in my Steelbook collection, and I don't regret it, even though I wish that the Special Collector's Edition came with the original version of the game, because I still like that artwork of them looking back while walking across the body of water. But what more can I say about The Last of Us that hasn't already been uttered by like a shit ton of people, like a billion people that have already played the game? This is one of my favorite additions to my physical form of games here, the Mass Effect trilogy. Not only because it's a nice little collection here with, again, nice looking sleeve with the design right there, Mass Effect trilogy. You got the cool little color scheme. You got obviously the things to sell you on the game right there in the back. But also you got this shit right here, where it's like this. You open it up like this, and inside you got N7, you got Shepard, default male Shepard right there at the front. You got the Normandy right there on the back, and then you open it up, and you got, open it up, what the hell? All right, 1, 2, 3, and then a sleeve right here for DLC on 3, I believe, with the bonus ending, whatever the hell it was called, like Citadel and all that stuff. I love the way that they compacted this together, and I love it even more that I got it, because right now, BioWare is in a heap of trouble with Andromeda, and along with that, they did announce that they have no actual concurrent plans to bring this type of collection to the current gen of the current gen of consoles, PS4 and Xbox One. So this will make do, especially since I still haven't played 3, which I hear is actually a pretty good game, despite its ending. Mortal Kombat Complete Edition with a K. So, comes with all the bonus DLC, skins, all that stuff, and definitely one of the biggest changes to come to the franchise, considering the overhaul with the character designs, but also the story mode. And this was a renaissance game for NetherRealm. Super Street Fighter 4, rather naive for me to get this game, because then there was going to be Ultra, and thus was the downfall of Capcom with this fucking franchise, because then came 5, and then we're probably going to get a Super 5, an Ultra 5, whatever the hell. Anyways, I didn't know any better. I really wanted a Street Fighter game, found this rather cheap, and I don't regret it. I just wish I can really devote myself to getting back into this franchise, and maybe I will. Maybe with a brand new version to come to the PS4 that isn't 5, but Jesus Christ, look at this instruction booklet. Look at this thing. It's every single character broken down to the moves. I'm gonna have to look at this later. Jesus. Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, one of my favorite games. A game that I actually would not mind revisiting even on the PS3. And what more can I say about this game that hasn't already been said, much like with the other critical darlings that have been in my collection? And of course, Rockstar being a homie here, adding the instruction booklet and the map for the game. Definitely one of the best physical releases thus far. Transformers War for Cybertron, the only concurrent Transformers game I own, especially physically. And good game, came a little short, that actually made me appreciate Fall of Cybertron a little bit better. But still, I understood what they were trying to do with this game. But I will admit, and I know I'm going to lose some people here, this is a game I actually would not mind selling. Only because I played it once, I enjoyed it, but I don't really see myself revisiting again, so hit me up, I guess. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Again, going with those supers and the ultimates and the whatever. But I heard that this was the better version to get out of this game, because I've been wanting a Marvel vs. Capcom game, because I still have memories from playing 2 in the arcade when I would visit my cousins in Mexico, and they would have the whole Wolverine versus, Ryu, whatever. So I wanted that. And I'm glad I got this game, played it for a good while, and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I must say, I'm not really itching for that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. There's something about the designs that made me go, ooh, maybe it's time to revisit this one again, rather. And I'm just gonna go ahead and knock out the next 3 games in one fell swoop, because the video is already way too long. I'm losing my voice. I'm hungry. I gotta go get some food. But also because it's virtually, an entire series here that's probably one of the best trilogies out there. Despite there being a 4th one that was still amazing, these 3 were able to have its own identity, especially because Amy Hennig was at the helm of all 3, and because of that, it had its own kind of persona going. And that is, of course, the first 3 Uncharted games, 1, 2, and 3. Before we got the Nathan Drake collection, we got these. And as you can tell, this one actually came bundled with my PlayStation 3. And it's one of the best things imaginable because you cannot think of any more of a fonder memory to be able to crack open my PS3 and then this is the first thing I play. Of course, going back to it now, it does have its flaws with its animations and the gameplay is not as tight. But still, it's one of those games I can easily replay over and over and over. And then in came 2 and 3, Game of the Year editions because I'm a homie like that. But I'm glad that I got them, and it's a series that I would not mind revisiting again and again. And even though I do have the Nathan Drake collection for conveniences, so that I can jump from game to game within the same interface, for the sake of the multiplayer, which is actually rather good, mainly in the second one, and also some of the bonus content, and also because I enjoy these covers and these designs for the covers and the artwork and themselves, I might just pop these in ever so often on my PS3. And that is it for my PlayStation 3 collection video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Any fond memories of those games that I just shared with you guys, please let me know in the comments below. I know it was a longer video than usual, but these are games that are important to me, and I'm glad that I got to show them with you guys. So please, any feedback is welcome in the comments. Make sure you like and share this video, and make sure to subscribe for future videos, some of which might be collection videos. From this point forward, I can only go with either PS4, Xbox One, even my 3DS. But who knows? If you guys want it, I'll give it to you guys. Until next time, guys, take care.